And good evening on this wonderful evening of, I believe it is, what day is it? November 26th, 2023, as we are counting down until Christmas, Hanukkah, and the New Year. But we're going to go a little more serious in this one, where I want to tell a very tragic story and a failure of the um, Texas judicial system, but more importantly, the American judicial system. And I'd like to put a content warning on this. If you are triggered by issues of death, sex work, or overall injustice, like it and feel free to not watch it. I only ask you to like it because we're trying to get in the algorithms and all that. I'm going to take off my glasses for this one. How do I look? Okay, I wrote an article about this one a few years ago. I couldn't seem to find the article, but I definitely did my due diligence and research on it. So let me pull up what I found. And I just realized I'm blinder than I thought I was. Glasses have to go back on. Sorry. Okay. This has to deal with the story of Lenora Ivy Frago. Or is it Frango? Hold on. Lenora Ivy Frago. Okay. Leonora Ivy Frago was an escort. Before I get into her story, let me just differentiate the difference between an escort and a prostitute. And I only use the word prostitute for legal reasons. I prefer to use the word sex worker, but being I'm coming at this from a legal perspective, the laws have the word prostitute. I don't like it, and I don't prefer it, but it's the way I can tell the story how it occurred. So no one come in the comments hating me for that. Okay. This all starts on Christmas Eve, 2009. That was a difficult Christmas for me. It was a much more difficult Christmas for Ms. Frango. So, there was a man. His name was Ezekiel Gilbert. And on one Christmas Eve in 2009, he was alone. And just like some guys alone on a random night, he got horny. It happened. You know? So, what did he do? He reached out to an escort service in which he would pay $150 for 30 minutes of time with an escort. I emphasize that because when somebody is paying for an escort, they are paying for the time and company of a female. If sex occurs, that's a side thing. Now, I don't live in a bubble. The term escort is a very easy way to get around sex work, but not always. Not always. So when Ezekiel reached out, he was expecting sex. 100%, that's what he wanted. So the escort who showed up with her driver, who was named, hold on, let me find this right here. If I can't find it quickly, I'll move on. Okay, we'll get back to that. She showed up with her driver, and Christopher Perkins was her driver. Drove her to Mr. Gilbert's house in Texas, and nobody really knows what happened between those two during the half an hour. All we know is sex did not happen for whatever reason. Now, keep in mind, legally, he was not entitled to sex. He was entitled to her company. So she had met the obligation for $150. So, when she got up to leave, without sex occurring, Ezekiel Gilbert was outraged. He demanded he get his money back or she gives him sex. At that point, it would have become prostitution, which at that time and now is illegal. So Frago went outside where her driver, Christopher Perkins, was waiting, and Gilbert came out to confront Perkins, the driver. Have a little man-on-man conversation about this. And Perkins reminded him that he had paid for 30 minutes of her time, not for 30 minutes of sexual enjoyment. That just didn't happen. In which time, Ezekiel Gilbert went inside and they assumed it was over. Unfortunately, it was not over. Very unfortunately, it was not over. As Perkins and Frago just talked about what happened, Ezekiel Gilbert came out with a gun, a legally acquired gun, to which Frago yelled, "Gun, gun," and Perkins sped away. Gilbert shot his gun 4 times. One bullet struck Frago in the base of the skull, paralyzing her. 7 months later, she died of the shooting, and Gilbert was charged for murder. These are the facts that Ezekiel Gilbert described, the defendant. So, what was his defense? It was a defense of stolen property. Huh? Well, they searched the car. They searched Frago's body. They searched Perkins' body, and there was no items which were stealing. So, the only property that she could have stolen would have been the use of her body for sexual activity, which would have been prostitution, which would have been illegal. But that was his defense. Does it seem ridiculous? It gets more ridiculous. Essentially, he is claiming that he is able to compel the commission of a crime simply because he believed he was paying for something he was not promised for, or else he was entitled to his money back. I have 3 years of law school, 4 years of undergrad. That makes no sense to me. That is the problem with our criminal justice system. Think about it. Some guys buy marijuana from a drug dealer, but it turns out to be oregano. Can they kill them? I haven't heard of that. Or supposedly somebody bought something from somebody who advertised the best price in town, but then they found the same item cheaper somewhere else. Can they go kill the person they bought it from? Absolutely not. These are ludicrous ideas, ludicrous assumptions, and just ludicrous overall. So, what happened? Ezekiel Gilbert ultimately posted bail. Hold on, I have another article about this. Okay? He posted bail and he was able to live his life. He was actually out of jail within a few hours of being questioned. But then he ran to Las Vegas. And the bail bondsman went to the judge and said he was a flight risk. So then he was brought back to Texas to complete the remainder of the time before the trial would start in custody, which I think is beyond fair. Okay. Trial begins. Hold on. As I said, I wrote an article about this, but I can't find it. Hopefully this is one I redo when I really become better at this. So I just want to get the names correctly. So if you would excuse me for 1 second. Okay. So, okay. So the trial begins. Gilbert is represented by defense attorneys Bobby Barrera and Roy Barrera Sr. Okay? And they were arguing the defense of theft of property. Yeah, theft of property. That the use of her body during those 30 minutes was his property. If that doesn't sound crazy to you, it sounds crazy to me. While the prosecution really thought they had an easy case because it was so ludicrous. Now, let me just read the appropriate Texas penal laws about use of justifiable force, okay? This is under Texas Penal Code something. Some numbers. Hold on. Texas Penal Code on theft of property. Okay. Section 30.01. Deception. Creating or confirming by words or false impression of law or fact that is likely to affect a judgment of another in a transaction, and that actor does not believe to be true. Okay, possible, but it doesn't apply to illegal activity. Failing to correct impression of law or fact that is likely to affect the judgment in another transaction. What? So, what the court is saying is she would have been okay if she went in and put out. Beyond my comprehension. There's no way this guy would be acquitted, right? No way. No way. See where I'm going with this, right? Okay. So, the trial didn't end up taking place till 2011. Okay? And the assistant district attorneys argued, obviously, that all those laws didn't apply. They said the law was not intended to protect somebody, to force somebody to commit an illegal act, which in this case was prostitution. The Bexar County jury deliberated 11 hours before finding Ezekiel Gilbert not guilty of murder. I repeat, not guilty of murder. He got to walk out of that courthouse a free man. All my pauses are really just out of such disgust because she had a daughter she had people who cared about her. Maybe she had gone down a road that was in some eyes immoral, in some eyes not immoral, in some eyes not great, or in some eyes absolutely acceptable. She did not deserve to die. And her killer deserved to go away for a long, long time. Now, when he was acquitted, he cried. He went out to the news and he said, "I sincerely regret the loss of life of Miss Frago. I've been in a mental prison for the past 4 years of my life. I have nightmares. I see guns on TV where people are getting killed. I changed the channel. Boo-hoo. I feel so bad. Because Lenora Ivy Frago is 6 feet under." So, let's see if Mr. Ezekiel Gilbert was able to turn his life around. And what he's up to these days. Let's see. Okay. Let's just do a little Google of his name. Hey, Ezekiel Gilbert. Okay. Oh, I was wrong. He was acquitted on June 8th, 2013. And let's see what, let me find an article more recent. Ezekiel Gilbert. Hold on. 1 second. Gun. Okay. What's going on with Mr. Gilbert right now? Oh, he's definitely doing a good job hiding his name off the internet. We'll give him that. Oh, we got an article from 2018 with his name on it. Okay. So, Ezekiel Gilbert was arrested again in 2018 when they came into his home and they found an illegal amount of firearms and $400,000 in cash. And he had a co-defendant named Winter Fowler, and they were both arrested. Okay, Winter Fowler was a female, and she described Gilbert as violent and dangerous and bragged that he killed a woman roughly 10 years ago. And he faced sex trafficking charges. Oh, so they let him out, and he became a sex trafficker. Well, that could have been prevented if he, I don't know, didn't kill a sex worker or was incarcerated for it. And the judge gave him 3 years probation, and he had to return the guns. Since then, no one knows where he is. This, to me, is an example of why sex work should be legal, it should be unionized, and it should be clean. There is no reason why she should be dead right now. I'm going to look up a picture of her because I don't want her to be forgotten. I will not show a picture of him because F him. She was 23. 23. There's a picture of her and her daughter, who had to grow up without a mother. I know it's not that clear. Let's see if I can make it a little clearer for you. Okay, hold on. Adorable. Adorable. Let me try to find a solo picture of her. Oh, there we go. Here's a picture of her and the guy who killed her. She was a beautiful young woman, 23 years old, rotting in a box while he is walking around living his life. We need to protect our citizens, people. We need to protect those closest to us. And if we don't, what's the point of a legal system? So, this is not the happiest story in the world, but it was one I really wanted to share. I will come back tomorrow and share, I guess, a happier story, but this was on my mind, and this was a story I really wanted to share. So, I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend, and if prayer is your thing, it's not my thing, please say a little prayer for Ivy Frago and her family and all the innocents involved in this disgusting case. And that's Ian for the night. I wish you all a wonderful evening. Take care.